We're going to commence our service. This is a combined service tonight. We're combining both the Shabbat and Simchat Torah, as is our tradition here. So I hope you're ready to rock and roll a little bit. Okay, let's begin. Begin with the lighting of the candles, page 120. We call Howard and Patricia Silverman to commence our service.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us find knowledge by which to live. Let us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our life. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who brings the offering of their hearts. May our worship lead us to the act of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshonu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'ha'iter, Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvah, commending us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Then,
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehad likneh shel Shabbat.
Thank you. We continue now on page 124, in the middle of the page. Together. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Forgot to mention that our pianist and our music director unfortunately wasn't able to be here tonight as he is ill, and we wish him a refuah shlema. He just has a bad virus. It's not COVID, but he didn't want to come and run the risk of infecting anybody. So he's at home recovering. Can you all hear me back there? I'm sorry. Christopher Powell is not with us tonight. He is recovering from a virus. It's not COVID. We urged him to stay home for two reasons. Number one, most of all, to get well. And number two, to avoid any risk of infection or spreading of this virus. It's not COVID, and we wish him a refuah shlema. Our service continues now with Yedid Nefesh on page 128. Our service continues now with L'Chadodi, page 138 and page 139. You may be seated. We're going to continue now with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144. Please rise for the Baruch Hu. You may be seated. Our service continues now on page 149. Let us join in prayer in the middle of the page. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your love and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. We continue now with the Ahavat Olam at the top of the page. rise for the Shema on page 152. Haftarah on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשקתם להיות בידיך, והיו לי תותפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המוזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם בכל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
You may be seated. And let us join in a responsive reading, page 157, in a world torn by violence and pain. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, It has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. We continue at the top of page 158, the Mi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi chamocha neder bakodesh. Nor atehilot osefele, nor atehilot osefele. Malechutecha Ra'uvanecha Bokei Ayam Livnei Moshe Zeli Anu ve'amru Adonai Imloch Adonai Imloch Leolam va'ed.
V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'gialoni ad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Let us continue on page 161, top of the page. We join in prayer. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Please rise for the Vishamru, page 162. V'shomru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam together. V'shomru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'yom hashvi'i shavat v'yinafar. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ברית עולם. And we remain standing now for the tefillah, for the avot, on page 166. And we continue now in silent meditation. Since it is Sukkot, you'll note on page 174, if you wish to recite that special prayer, either, of course, in English or in Hebrew. It is for Sukkot and for all festivals. So we continue silently. Of course, you may be seated or stand as is your preference. Page 172, all the way through to page 180. Our service continues now with the Shalom Rav on page 178. Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atah melech Edom lechol hashalom. Ki atah melech Edom lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובחושך בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Because we are celebrating Simchat Torah, there will not be a sermon tonight. To sort of introduce Simchat Torah to everyone here this evening in terms of what we're going to do, we're going to take two Torahs out. Then we will Molly will lead us in the one hakafot that we'll do. In other words, she will bring the Torah around for everybody to give it its due honor by either by taking the prayer book, of course, and touching it and bringing it to your lips. At the same time, we will be singing Al Shlosha Devarim, which is on page 642. I'll announce those page numbers as we get to each song. We'll be singing Havenu Shalom, and then Hava Nagila will conclude that portion. Everyone here gets an aliyah, but we'll do it in terms of a group. We'll do group aliyot, as is tradition. We're only going to read the last three verses of the Torah, and then we'll read the first four verses, the Bereshit Bara Elohim, followed by the Vaychulu Hashamayim, the Sabbath, as it is the Shabbat. So that's the plan. We take two Torahs out, and I know that I did not ask him in advance, but I hope he will consent. The honor should really go to our president, to our leader, Gil Layden, to not only open the ark, but to carry the Torah. And that would give Molly the opportunity to stand here and to lead us in song. That would mean that we would need one other person to help carry the Torah around. I'm looking at David in the back. He's kind of a starker. Just the basic, I don't want to say drill, but the basic idea is to join in the singing. If you feel like dancing, I don't know where you could dance, but you could certainly just kind of move around. We're going to begin with the Torah service with Baruch and Shema. I'll ask our president to come forward, Gil, and David, you'll carry the second Torah. Thank you so much on such short notice. Thank you. We need, and then you can stay here.